Once the participants are prepared, we can go ahead with the second witness.
All right. The second witness, the city would call.
Can we hear you? Yep.
The second witness, the city would call is Officer Mason Hagenbusher.
Okay, we'll ask him to come up in seat number 6. And in the absence of the clerk, we'll ask the deputy city clerk to swear the witness.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you.
Would you state your full name for the record, please, and spell your first and last name?
Officer Mason Hagenbusher, Mason, and then Hagenbucher.
And what is your occupation?
Patrol officer for the City of Wausau Police Department.
And where are you employed?
The City of Wausau Police Department,
How long have you been employed there?
2 years.
And what would your general duties as a patrol officer be?
General patrol of your assigned sector of the city, and then respond as necessary to calls of service.
Are you assigned to a particular area of the city?
Yes, mine's assigned to Sector D, which is the southwest side of the City of Wausau. So from Stewart Ave, First Ave to Stewart Ave, or the river, Stewart Ave all the way to 17th, and then 17th south, that little, pretty much all the way to DC Evans Park.
And are you generally assigned to a particular shift?
I am assigned to a rotation night shift, so from 6 p.m. till 6 a.m.
And as a patrol officer in, what did you say, Sector
D.
D is in David? Okay. As a patrol officer in Sector D, are you familiar with an establishment known as Rock's Place?
Yes.
And turning to Thursday, March 4th, 2021, were you on duty as a patrol officer that evening?
Yes.
Were you requested to respond to Rock's Place at about 11:04 p.m.?
Yes.
And did you respond to that location?
I did.
What was your understanding of the nature of the call?
I responded, along with other officers, to Rocks for a report of approximately 10 people or a large group fighting in the parking lot.
And do you recall where you were located just prior to being dispatched to that call?
Yep. Myself and Officer Talg were actually just to the south of MNR, which is one business south of Rocks Place. In the large parking lot, we had just got done with a unrelated call at MNR, so we were in that parking lot, which is approximately 1 block south.
Okay. And do you recall whether there were other officers who responded to that call as well?
Yes, myself and Officer Talg, who were next to each other just finishing up the call, and then approximately five other officers responded as well.
Okay. And so what, if anything, did you see when you arrived at Rock's Place?
So when I arrived at Rocks, I parked my squad right in front of the parking lot. And as I got out, I activated my emergency lights, and as I got out, I saw a large group of people, approximately 7 or 8 people, all cultivated in one spot of the parking lot. And I saw 2 males, what looked to be pushing or punching each other, kind of in the middle of the group of all those people.
Okay. And were you Were you able to hear anything when you arrived there?
I could hear a lot of yelling coming from that group. And then there was also as I got out, there was a female standing right on the sidewalk, screaming like, hey, they're fighting, they're pushing, and somebody potentially has a gun.
Did you approach this group of people?
I did.
What, if anything, did you observe as you approached this group of people?
So as I activated my emergency lights on my squad and was getting out and started walking towards this group, everybody pretty much immediately separated, and kind of just started just slowly dispersing, and everybody the two people that I saw were actively what I assumed, or what I saw fighting each other, started separating, and one guy actually ran. He completely fled the scene, and then the other person fled into a vehicle, got into a vehicle that was parked on the far opposite side of the parking lot.
Did you attempt to stop these people or issue any command to stop?
I issued the guy who ran a command to stop, but I was at a greater distance. There was no way that I was going to catch up to him. And then with the kind of other reason why we were there was a lot of other people there too. So I indicated over the radio to the responding officers, like, hey, this guy just fled. This is his clothing description. And they took over from there. And then once I dispatched on the radio, I immediately started trying to go talk to the other person who was involved that got into the vehicle. He immediately refused, failed to follow my commands of stopping, hey, I want to talk about what happened. So I stood outside in the parking lot behind his vehicle for a short period of time, trying to negotiate with him to see if he would come out, which eventually he did, and talk to me about what happened.
And so you were able to make contact with him?
Yep.
Any other individuals in the parking lot?
So after I made contact with him, I made contact with a witness who was the female screaming when I got on scene as well.
Did you identify that female, or are you
I
aware
did.
who she was?
I identified her.
And who was that?
She was a patron of the bar, and then it also turned out she's an employee of the bar as well, but she wasn't working at the time. She was there for her own event.
Do you recall her name?
Caitlin.
Caitlin?
Yes.
Okay. And what, if anything, did Caitlin tell you about what she observed that evening that may have occurred inside the bar?
So the way that it was explained, she was sitting in the bar and observed the two males that were later identified as the suspects or offenders by officers. She identified these two males as verbally arguing inside the bar. And then she indicated at one point the bartender told them to leave, which one male did. He left, and the other male eventually got outside. He was being held back by everybody else who was trying to keep everybody separate. But eventually everybody went into the parking lot.
So the
And
male
left-
being
and left the
held
bar.
back, the male being held back was inside the bar at this time?
Yes, both males started inside the bar, and then eventually everything moved outside.
And what, if anything, did Caitlin tell you that she observed after, as people began to leave the bar?
So Caitlin initially stayed inside, she said, after everybody went outside, but then she continued to hear everybody yelling outside, so she went outside to see what was kind of going on and observed these two, like trying to push past everybody and to get at each other. So she stepped in to try to separate these two parties as well.
Okay, so she did go outside?
Yes.
Okay. And what, if anything, did Caitlin tell you happened as she was outside?
So she indicated that she stepped in front of one of the suspects to try to keep them separated. While that was going on and while she was trying to separate him, he ended up, I don't know if it was inadvertent, on purpose or inadvertently, ended up actually striking her with an open hand.
Striking her, where did she say?
And she didn't indicate.
And what then did she tell you, if anything?
She then, so while she was also trying to hold this party back, she said that she witnessed him go into a white vehicle, and then that was parked in the parking lot, and grab what she described as a firearm from inside the vehicle.
Okay. Can you explain a little more in detail what she told you about seeing this individual grab a firearm?
So she explained that she witnessed him go inside the vehicle, take out what she said was a firearm. He didn't point it at anybody, he didn't do anything with it, he put it in his waistband, tucked under his shirt, and that's when everybody separated, when we got on scene.
Did she say anything to you that made you believe that she might be familiar with weapons or handguns?
I do not recall.
And did she say to you anything as to whether or not she had heard any talk about any individual obtaining firearms before anyone went to the vehicle?
I don't know.
Would it help if you reviewed your report?
Yeah, I can try. See.
I'm just going to give them the piece. Look at that.
So in my report, I did not describe how Caitlin described the firearm. I put that she witnessed him grab a firearm out of his vehicle.
All right, thank you, officer. Now, did you make any referrals as a result of the incident?
Yes.
For what?
I referred one party for disorderly conduct.
And are you aware of whether later in that evening, the individual who took off was ever located?
Yes. While I was on scene, myself and Officer Tall were handling the situation at the bar. The other officers who were responding were able to locate the male who fled the scene, identify him, and also, I believe, referred or issued him a summons for
Judge, I'm
disorderly
going to
conduct.
object at this point. There's no relevance in regards to what we're here, whether or not this individual is arrested or not.
It's just anecdotal.
I know, but I want to keep it moving.
Okay, sustained. Move along.
And then, did you ever find any weapons?
No.
And did you have legal cause to search anyone or search any vehicle on the scene?
I did not search any vehicle, no.
And then, that evening when you responded, were you equipped with body cam video recording equipment?
Yes.
And where do you carry that equipment?
I carry it right here,
Okay.
middle of my vest.
And are you familiar with that equipment?
Yes.
How it works?
Yep.
And did you make a video that evening?
I had it on, yes, while I was on scene.
And what do you do with those recordings after they're made?
At the end of each shift, you take it downstairs and you dock your body cam on the docking station, and it'll eventually get uploaded onto our evidence server.
And you do that at the end of
Yep.
the shift? Okay. And these can be recovered?
Yes.
And did you request any surveillance video from Rox from that evening's event?
I did. So Caitlin, the witness that I was speaking with, she was able to get in contact with, since she's an employee, just not working, she was able to get in contact with the bar manager who was not on duty at that time, and another officer was able to go back the next day, or a few days later, to recover it when she was actually there.
And what did you do with it after you got it?
After I got it, when I came on to my next shift, I reviewed the surveillance video of what happened.
And where did you put it, or what happened to that?
After I reviewed it, I uploaded it onto our evidence server, and then that disk I placed into evidence.
And can you describe how this video footage gets displayed at Rox when you receive it?
What do you mean?
Are there different angles, or is it one camera, or? how
Oh,
does
yes.
all
So
this
there are, I believe, 2 cameras outside that cover the front entrance, which is on the east side of the building, right on the sidewalk. And then there's one more camera, I believe, outside that covers the parking lot area. And then they have 1 or 2 cameras inside the bar that covers the inside of the bar.
May I ask Ms. Kramer we've had this marked previously as Complainants Exhibit Number 5, which are a series of portions of different videos. Okay, could you pause it for a second? Okay. Just for the record, this is a clip, and it plays of the original body cam video, plays from 11 seconds until 36 seconds. All right, would you please play that, and then stop at the end? Okay, thank you, Steph. Could you describe the scene for us for the record, what we just looked at?
Yeah, so that was when I arrived on scene. I exited my squad and started making my way to where I saw the large group of people. And as I got closer, that's when that male took off and I gave him command to stop. And then that's when I made my way to the other male who was in the car.
Can I ask, was the committee able to hear that? It seemed kind of quiet.
Did you guys hear it? I can hear it.
Okay, great. And so, would this be an accurate depiction of the events as you recall them from that
Yes.
night? Okay. All right, and can we now play the second clip? And for the record, this is from Rock's Place, and it is from the video from 5 minutes and 50 seconds through 7 minutes and 31 seconds. Pause for a second. This is part 2 of this video. If you can play, it's from the beginning of the segment from Rox through 2 minutes.
Want to have the officer describe what he thinks
I was-
he's seeing, so that we don't get too far past him?
Well, we can. I was just going to do this clip. Well, do you want to describe for us what you're seeing here in that first clip before we play the second clip?
Yeah,
At
so-
Attorney Swakis's kind suggestion.
Yep, so the surveillance video that we just watched, that's what I was able to get from the bar. And the male that walked outside, that walked to that vehicle, that was one of the suspects involved, where he went outside, took his jacket off, put other belongings in his vehicle, and then walked back inside the bar. And that's when the verbal altercation started just inside the door. And then almost at the end, or right at the end of that video, you could see him kind of come back outside, making it appear like he was yelling at somebody. And he was yelling at the other person that he was in a verbal altercation with, who was still inside the bar. And that's when those other 2 people that came in the shot, they were assisting everybody else at keeping everybody separate.
The 2 women who seem to be walking towards the event, heavy-set woman and another woman, do you know who those individuals are?
I know who one of them is.
Who's one of them?
One of them is another witness that I spoke to, who is also an employee of the bar. She just wasn't working that night. So I know her from previous contacts talking with her.
And what was her name?
Her name was Stephanie.
Thank you. You can proceed with the second part and stop it. Officer Hagenbusher, can you explain for us, for the record, what it is that you are, what we're seeing here in this video?
Yep, so that was the verbal altercation and the pushing that spilled from inside of the bar, outside of the bar in the parking lot. The 2 people, the 2 suspects that were involved were seen trying to get at each other through everybody else, but everybody else actually did a really good job at keeping them separated for the most part, so things didn't potentially get physical. So that was the spill out into the parking lot from the verbal altercation that happened inside the bar.
And the clips, the 2 clips that we've just watched now from Rox, would those be accurate depictions of the scenes from the videos that you watched and obtained from
Yes.
Rox Place?
Yep, both were the surveillance videos that I got from the bar.
Okay, and Were you able to get information from your interviews from witnesses other than Caitlin that was helpful to your investigation?
I was not. Everybody that I spoke with, nobody wanted to identify themselves or really tell me what happened. Everybody just told me that there was an altercation and that's it. Nobody else indicated that they saw any firearm. Somebody who again didn't want to identify themselves even made a comment that the fight wasn't, or the scuffle or fight wasn't going on long enough for anybody to even go get a gun, because we got there so quickly.
And again, do you recall what Caitlin said as to when she believes the person would have obtained a weapon?
I do not recall.
Thank you. That's it. Oh,
Okay.
wait, there's one more. I'm
One-
sorry. One more clip, I'm sorry. Stop, thank you, Ms. Kramer. Would you describe for the record what we've been observing, and just to supplement the record, this is from a portion at 5, that begins at 5:23 to 7:58 from the Rocks Place surveillance camera.
Yeah, so that was the verbal altercation that happened inside the bar between the two male suspects. And as you can see, at one point, one male went outside. He was one of the people involved, and then everybody else, as they were yelling at each other, everybody else tried to kind of sandwich themselves in between them and keep them separated as best as they can until eventually it got outside in the parking lot.
And this clip that we watched, would that be a true and accurate depiction of the video as you obtained it from Rocks Place?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions for Officer Hagenbusher.
Thank you. Attorney Sakis, do you want cross-examination of Officer Hagenbusher?
Just briefly,
Okay, go ahead.
in regards to this, you indicated that, that Stephanie is a bar, or employee of Rock's Place?
Yeah, she was off duty at the time, but yes, she is an employee.
So she wasn't working there?
No.
And I think you mentioned Caitlin also is an employee there?
Yes, she was also an employee. She was not the active employee there. She is an employee, they just were not working.
Not working.
Yep.
At any point during the videos that you watched, did you see the employee who was working go outside?
I did not know who the bartender was. I did not talk with the bartender, a different officer did.
But in the videos you watched, did you see the bartender go outside at all?
I don't know who the bartender was.
Okay. In regards to this, it did not appear that there's any physical altercation in the bar between the two people who were outside fighting, is that correct?
There was no physical punching or pushing or anything like that. And inside the bar, it was all verbal.
Okay. And how long would you say it took you from the call you got until the time you arrived?
So when we were, I don't know at what point during these videos that we were called, but when we got the call from dispatch, it took us 30 seconds, because like I said, all we had to do was go around the block. So
And do you know who called dispatch?
I do not know who called dispatch.
I have nothing.
Thank you. Redirect.
I have no redirect.
Committee members, any questions for Officer Hagenbusher? If not, Attorney Miller, do you have questions for Officer Hagenbusher?
Just a few. So previously, you said when you showed up to Rock's Bar, you saw the two suspects fleeing, correct?
I saw one of them.
Saw one of them?
Well, one of them full-on sprinted away, and then the other person that I saw moved kind of in a group and then got into a vehicle that was parked on that far west side of the parking lot.
So watching the video, I think I determined that the two suspects, one was wearing the white shirt with the blue cap.
Yeah, they were both wearing blue jeans and a white shirt. And then, so one of them might have been wearing the white cap, or the blue cap. They were
Okay.
both wearing white t-shirts and blue jeans.
Okay, so the individual that fled, that did not go into the car, he was the one that, was he the one that went into the white car?
No, he was not the person that went into the white car. The
But-
one that fled completely just the way that was apprehended by other officers, he was not the person that went into the car.
Okay. Did Caitlin say which of the suspects had the weapon, the suspected weapon?
Yes, she indicated that the person that fully ran away, as I got on scene, he was the one that had the weapon and that went into the car.
Okay, and I know there was previously an objection to the questioning of then the suspect that did flee, but was it ever noted that the suspect that was eventually caught, did he have a weapon on his person?
He did not.
No further questions?
Thank you. With no further requests for questions, Officer Hagenbusher, you can step down, and we'll ask Attorney Alfonso to call her next witness.
Thank you. Officer Aaron Carlin.
Okay, the clerk will swear in the witness.
Please state your name for the record. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony which you shall give in the matter now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Okay, would you state your full name for the record, please, and spell your first and last name?
Aaron Carlin, Aaronkarlen,
And what is your occupation?
police officer with the city of Wausau.
And how long have you been employed there?
Almost going on 4 years.
What are your general duties for the police department?
Respond to calls, follow up on assigned assignments in your sector, whatever the on-duty patrol lieutenant assigns you with. Protect and serve, I think it's cliche.
And you're a patrol officer.
Correct.
Are you assigned to a particular sector of the city?
Yes.
And what is that?
D, David.
And you heard Officer Hagenbusher testify? Did he accurately describe that sector?
Yep, Stewart Avenue south, and then to the lake there, and then east to 17th to the river.
And are you generally assigned to a particular shift?
Yeah, B nights. He's the opposite of me. He's A nights.
And what time is that?
So with these cases, I was 6 to 6. Now I'm currently 4 to 4.
Thank you. And are you familiar with an establishment known as Rock's Place?
I am.
And that's at 810 South Third Ave?
Correct.
And looking at Sunday, February 21st, 2021, were you on duty as a patrol officer that evening?
Could you restate the date?
February 21st?
Yes.
2021?
Correct.
Sunday. Okay. And were you asked to respond to Rock's Place at about 7 p.m.?
I was.
Okay, who asked you to respond there?
Lieutenant Brent Olson, he's my patrol lieutenant. I was actually working on other paperwork in the downstairs report room.
And what was your understanding of the assignment you were given at that time by Officer Olson?
He said we had received a anonymous complaint that day in the, I guess, morning hours. I wouldn't say early morning, but like 8 to 10, somewhere in that time range, about two individuals that pulled guns on each other. Again, it came in as anonymous, so it was our duty to investigate it.
And the call came in the morning?
Correct.
Okay. You said about 10?
Yeah, I don't know the exact time, like anywhere from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Okay. And you said the complainant was anonymous?
Yes.
Okay. What was the understanding of the time that this event occurred at Rock's the night before?
That two people pulled guns on each other. There's an altercation where some guns were pulled with two males involved.
Okay. You don't recall the time frame that the initial report?
Oh, yeah, so it came in as 10 to 11:30. Yeah,
Okay. And so did you respond there?
I did.
And did any other officer respond with you?
Yes, Officer Paff responded as well.
Did you make contact with anyone when you arrived at Rock's Place?
I did.
And who was that?
Caitlin Bodenheimer, she was the bartender there on Sunday, not the one on duty during the altercation.
How did you identify her? How was she identified as Caitlin?
She verbally identified herself to me. I'm pretty bad with names, so I see her often.
So you asked her if she was on duty the evening before?
Correct.
And what did she say?
She said she hadn't worked since that previous Thursday.
And did you ask her who was on duty the night before?
Yes.
And what did she tell you?
Her name was Jennifer, I think Jennifer Mahomes, if I remember correctly. I think she looked back on the schedule that they have there, or something to that effect.
To double check?
Correct.
Okay. And did you tell her your reason for being there?
Yeah, I had asked her if she knew why I was there, first off, and then she had no idea, so I explained myself as to why I was there.
Okay. And she indicated she was not familiar with the event that you were describing?
Correct.
Now, did she take any steps while you were there to determine whether or not there was an event the night before?
Yeah, so they have I forget what the notebook's called. If I'd reference my report, I'd be able to find it because I quoted it in there, but I forget what the notebook's called, and that's essentially a document that all bartenders have there that is supposed to stay up to date about people that are not allowed there, incidents that happened, I guess any altercations that occurred or whatever. But she looked back at that book to see if there's any altercation that occurred. And the last documented incident was the 19th, which was a birthday party that went very well from the sounds of it. This incident occurred the 21st, and there had been nothing wrote in that book.
Nothing logged in that book since that 19th?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Did you ask Caitlin if she could provide you any video from the bar from the evening of the 20th, the night before?
I don't recall if I did the night before. I mean, of the incident, yes.
Of the, well, you said you came, you got the police department got an anonymous tip in the morning about an incident that occurred the night before, right?
Yeah, it was early morning hours of that day, so,
So that's probably where the.
correct.
alleged
So it was the
is.
early morning hours of the
Okay.
21st, but I could see how it could be perceived as the night before. But yes, I did.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah.
So you asked her to provide you with some video from the bar.
I did. I told her 10 to 11:30. Mistake on my part at the very beginning, because throughout the investigation, I noticed that the time of events didn't occur during, the 10 PM to 11:30 PM. So I kept requesting, I guess, more footage.
So the 10 to 11:30, you testified earlier, however, was the information you were provided by Lieutenant Olson from the anonymous tip, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so your initial understanding was this happened earlier in the evening?
Correct.
Okay. And did Caitlin seem agreeable to trying to obtain video for you?
Yeah, very cooperative, very helpful. Did a lot of legwork for me to get people down there so I can interview them.
And did she indicate to you how she was going to obtain that video for you?
Yeah, I think she was going to either call or text Jacqueline. Jacqueline, I believe, is Tim's girlfriend, who also assists with the bar management.
Okay, and how do you know if she contacted Jacqueline?
She texted her, called her. I think she told me. I can't recall verbatim, but yeah, I think she said she's going to get a hold of Jackie.
Were you sitting there when she did this?
Yeah, yep, right across the bar from her.
Okay. And at any point, did you ask Caitlin to make contact with the bartender from the night before? You said her name was Jennifer Mahone?
Yeah, and I did ask her, and I think she was working at Hutch's that night or something to that effect. I think that was her other job or one of her other jobs.
And did Caitlin indicate to you whether she was aware if any other bar staff was present at the bar during the reported anonymous tip incident?
Yeah, I think she said a security guard, and she identified him as Bo, but I guess throughout the investigation, his name was Richard, or it's not Robert, because Robert was the guy I talked to at M&R, but is it Richard, or I'd have to reference my report to catch the name, but starts with an R.
Here.
Ronald.
Ronald?
His name was Ronald.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And was anyone else there the night before?
Yeah.
Employees of the bar?
Yeah, Stephanie, I forget her last name. She, I guess, manages the bar as well, and she was there. I later talked to her, and she told me as a patron. However, surveillance footage shows her serving drinks, and she had told me that she was intoxicated as well.
And did you ask Caitlin to make contact with either Bo or Stephanie?
Yes, and I think they all somehow correlated to meet up down there. But yes, they were very helpful in getting people to the bar so I could speak to them.
Okay. And while you waited for these people to assemble at the bar, Bo and Stephanie and Jacqueline, what, if anything, did you do? Did you wait at the bar the whole time, or?
Yeah, I guess I waited until Jackie arrived, but Jennifer came in too sometime around then. I don't exactly know if that was before or after I went over to the M&R station, but Jennifer came in there too while Jackie was there.
So you said you went over to M&R station?
I did.
When did you do that?
Must have been right after I talked to Caitlin, because nobody could get down there, obviously, in the drop of a hat. So, yes, I went over to M&R to see if there's any surveillance footage outside of this potential altercation.
Surveillance footage from where?
From M&R, if they had a camera, I mean, I don't know, if they had a camera pointing north towards Rock's Place, towards their parking lot area.
So you went over to M&R?
Correct.
Did Officer Paff go with you?
Yes, yep.
And did you speak with individuals when you were there at M&R station?
I did. I spoke to Richard, the owner, his wife, Sarah Hederling, and Robert. while I was there.
Who's Robert?
Robert was a guy who was at the M&R station when he heard an altercation over at Rock's place that night.
And did M&R have any video surveillance that points to Rock's place?
No,
And you said you spoke with a man named Robert. Did you obtain any information from him as to whether he personally observed any altercation over at Rock's?
so he said he heard an altercation over there, did not see anything, a lot of yelling. However, he did post something on Facebook that indicated like, oh, it must be a Saturday night, another fight at Rock's.
And was there any, did he indicate to you when he believed the altercation occurred?
I want to say he told me around 12 o'clock. I'd have to reference my report again. A lot of people, a lot of statements. But I would say around 12 o'clock is what he possibly have said.
I'm going to let him refresh his memory from his report. Is that all right?
Thanks.
You can take a minute and review that, but then put it to the side. It's just to refresh your memory. You can't testify from
All
it.
right. All right. So Robert indicated the time frame of the altercation was 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. He estimated.
Thank you. And did Robert indicate anything else to you of interest in connection with the investigation?
So, yes, he was with an individual who apparently Jackie knew. And after he posted on Facebook, Jackie got a hold of this individual. I don't know what was said, but I think Jackie also commented on a Facebook post, which I did not see.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point, that's going to be double hearsay.
Yeah, we're pretty far afield with that.
Well, this is an administrative hearing, and so hearsay rules don't apply to this proceeding as they would to a state court proceeding. The rules of evidence in the state statutes only apply to court proceedings.
Well, I agree, I'm just saying that it's you got hearsay from, first of all, him saying that it's posted, that someone else posted it, then him, that person saying that Jackie posted it to whoever posted it.
I think we should confine his testimony to what he heard from Robert
Okay.
and not 3 other people's Facebook account.
All right, thank you. Did Robert provide you information as to whether he left his post up?
He took his post down.
Did he indicate to you why?
Objection, Judge, relevance, whether or not someone's posting something on Facebook or taking something down isn't relevant to whether or not there was a fight in regards to Rock's place or weapons.
It's relevant to the understanding of the employees and the people who work at Rock's place as to the repercussions of police being summoned to the establishment.
I'll overrule the objection and allow it, but bring the point around quickly, please.
Okay. So could you just answer, did he tell you why he took it down?
He took it down, I think, because Jackie was dissatisfied with him posting that.
Okay. And at some point, you returned to Rock's place after M&R?
I did.
And was Jacqueline there when you arrived?
Yes, she was.
And did you ask her if she had been there the night before?
Yes. Scratch that. I don't know if I asked her if she was there the night before. I know she was not there the night before.
Okay. And did she indicate to you if she'd spoken with her staff as to whether an altercation occurred the night before?
I believe she did, and her staff were unaware about it.
Okay. And did you observe anything about Jacqueline's demeanor when you arrived there towards you or the situation?
Not this time.
Okay. And did she mention to you at that time any concerns about demerit points at the bar?
Yeah, she was aware that Rox had no demerit points left.
Okay, and at that time, you confirmed with Jacqueline that you were looking for video from 10 o'clock to 11:30?
Correct.
Okay. Now, at some point, after speaking with Jacqueline, did you speak with Ronald Coleman, Bo,
Yes, that was via telephone.
via telephone? And what, if anything, did Ronald tell you about the event?
It was hard to understand that he was in a noisy area or something, but essentially he told me there was an altercation that occurred inside the bar. He squashed it inside the bar, and then I don't know if he moved him out or the altercation moved out, and he said it escalated outside the bar, and I guess that's all I can really remember from his statement.
Did he tell you if he had contacted the police department regarding that event?
No, he didn't tell me. I would assume not, coming in as anonymous.
Okay. And after talking to Ronald Bo, did anyone else come in that you were able to interview?
Yeah, Jennifer made an appearance at Rox.
Okay, and she was the bartender you testified from the night before?
Correct, she was on duty, if you will, during this incident.
Okay. And how was she identified to you to be Jennifer Mahomes? Did you take a
I don't
license
exactly
or-
recall, I don't know if it was her ID or verbally, but
Okay. Now, did you ask her when was she aware of whether there was a fight at the bar that night?
she had heard, I don't think she knew there was that night, but I think with everybody talking and getting involved that she later found out, like, hey, something happened.
Did she indicate to you when she thought this event occurred?
I think she approximated at 1:30 in the morning.
Okay. And what did she tell you about what she observed while she was on duty?
A group of people at the bar, I don't know inside or outside. I believe she said inside because they weren't drinking, but they were giving weird looks. And what she said was like, again, don't quote me, but something to the effect of like odd behavior. Like it was just weird seeing them there. And then I don't remember exactly what she all said. It's in my report, but.
Did she indicate to you whether she had seen these individuals before?
Yeah, she said they're unknown to her.
Unknown to her. And did she give you any information about her perception of the atmosphere in the bar?
Yeah, she said something to the effect of it being tense in there.
And did she estimate for you the number of people that she thought were involved in this sort of tense situation?
She said a group of like 8 to 10 people.
And you indicated that she said they weren't drinking and that was unusual or something to that effect?
Yeah, something to that effect.
So did she indicate to you whether she believed there was any previous history between the people involved in this tension at the bar?
She did. She said there was an altercation that may have spilled over from the 18th of February. Unknown to me what that was.
And how would you describe Jennifer's level of cooperation?
Jennifer was reserved. It appeared as if she was afraid to tell me information just because she didn't want to be labeled as a snitch. She said she makes good money at Rox. The people that are, I guess, patrons there, or she serves, or that hang out there, she said often carry weapons, and she doesn't want essentially to get repercussions of her snitching or her telling us what had happened, because those people, I think she quoted or something to the effect of those people aren't in jail forever. So she was afraid of that. I guess very reserved to give me information.
And did she tell you she had called about the fight to report it to the police department?
No.
So let me ask you this. At some point in your interview with Jennifer, do you feel there may have been a miscommunication between the two of you?
Yes, I do.
And what was that, or how would you describe that?
Yeah, so I was letting her know of the potential consequences of A, lying to me or misleading my investigation, or withholding information from a person that she knows is involved with this, potential consequences of that. I'll watch my body camera again to confirm, and somehow it got misconstrued into me, I guess, what it came off as is taking her kids away, to which I think other staff members had learned of prior to me coming back for the second time and were very frustrated with me. And that could have been my lack of communication or their lack of understanding.
Did Jennifer's demeanor change with you, though, at all?
Not at all.
Would you describe her as polite to you?
Yes, very.
At some point in your conversation with Jennifer, did Officer Paff come over to you and provide you with a copy of the video surveillance?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you tell him about the time frame that was on the video?
I don't exactly remember. I remember, I guess, where we were and where I was in the bar, where he was when he was talking to me, but I remember asking him if, and again, I don't remember when I would have communicated this with him, but I remember communicating or asking him if, hey, is this 10 to 2, meaning 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. of footage after getting the interviews and the, approximate times of when this altercation occurred. And I said, like, on here, and he's like, yeah.
Did you indicate to him if it was 10 to 12, the original time you had asked for, that would not be acceptable any longer?
Maybe I did. I don't recall doing that, but I did tell him I wanted 10 to 2 footage.
So you changed the time frame?
Yes, I did. Yep.
So when you received the video from Officer Paff, you confirmed the time frame on the video with him?
Yeah, I guess, what do you mean by confirmed?
Did you ask him, what does this contain when he gave it to you?
Yeah, he said 10 to 2.
Okay. After you received the video from the bar, what, if anything, did you and Officer Paff do at that point?
We responded back to the police department to review the footage to see if this, I guess, complaint was substantiated.
And what, if anything, did you observe about the video and the time frame that was covered?
Yeah, so we observed the footage we received was from 10 to 11, 10 to 11:59, and we were missing from 12 to 1:37, but had 1:37 till 2 a.m., if that makes sense.
Did
So
that strike you as odd?
Yeah.
So what, if anything, did you do when you discovered that?
I told the on-duty patrol lieutenant after, we reviewed the footage and reviewed some of the footage, I shouldn't say all, some of it, and I told him about it, and he sent me back down there to make sure I get this footage.
Okay. So did you go back to the bar to get that footage
I did,
that same day?
that same day.
Okay, and what happened when you got there?
So I got to the bar, and I don't know if I contacted Jackie or if I contacted Caitlin, who contacted Jackie, but Jackie was on her way to meet us back down at the bar.
And how was that contact between you and Jackie?
So I was talking to a patron at the bar, and Jackie came in and slammed her purse on the bar, which made the patron stop talking to me and look and see what was that. And then she gave me the 1,000-yard stare.
What's a 1,000-yard stare?
As if she was very frustrated with me, as if it was intimidating or something to that effect.
Okay. And so did she agree to provide you with the additional footage at that time?
Yes.
And while you were waiting or I presume, did you stay there and wait for the additional footage?
Yes.
And did you have the opportunity to speak with anyone else while you were waiting?
Yeah, I think Stephanie arrived around that time, very, very displeased with me, and we spoke about the incident.
Did she tell you whether she had seen any fight at Rock's that evening?
She didn't want her to essentially really cooperate. She just said, I mean, she used swear words and such, but she said she didn't see anything. She was drunk. Again, camera footage shows otherwise.
And what did you say camera footage showed?
So we received the surveillance footage of the whole incident, and it shows her serving drinks to people from behind the bar.
And was she outside or involved in?
I'd have to reference Officer Paff's supplemental report. He really documented their surveillance footage.
Okay. So ultimately, did you get the missing footage that you needed?
Yes, we did, and I don't know if that was on purpose or a technical difficulty or a misunderstanding.
And let me ask you, so you received the footage, how many different angles or cameras are there that you obtained?
Yeah, I think there's 8 actually in the, within the bar. The one on the west side was not working. You see the 3 outside, but I guess 5 inside, from what I can understand, I guess.
Okay. And when you received that video, what did you do with it afterwards?
We sat on the side of the road to make sure we had the footage and reviewed it, just made sure we had from 12 to 137, I believe, and then went back to the police department to review it.
And is this video stored or saved by you after you received it at the police department?
Yeah, it was uploaded to our evidence database.
And that can be recovered?
Yeah.
And reviewed?
Yeah.
Okay. Would we be able to play the 5th clip? Would you be able to watch this,
Yeah.
Officer Carlin? And for the record, this from the original video is from 18 seconds to 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Ms. Kramer, can you pause the video for a second? So Officer Carlin, can you explain for us up to this point what we're seeing for the record?
Yeah, I guess it appears as if there's some sort of verbal altercation outside the bar here. Again, started inside, according to Ronald here, and he squashed it so it moved outside. And then you're going to see an individual pull a firearm.
What are we going to see?
An individual run from the bar. Several individuals actually.
Where's he going to be so we can watch?
So the individual who's going to pull the weapon is going to be in the snow here that you see directly against the building. He's going to run east towards 3rd Avenue. This is looking south. And you're going to see him holding a firearm in his right hand.
Okay, and he's running,
Yes.
so it's quick?
Yes.
Okay. Would you resume playing? Would you pause it again, please? I see some individuals leaving. Do you have any idea in your investigation what that's about?
Yeah, later in the investigation, I was learned it was an individual who happened to be at the bar involved in the altercation. It was his friends who were not willing to identify themselves and who did not want our services or to be talked to.
And they were leaving
They were leaving.
while these other people were there?
Say it again?
While the other people were hovering around the door?
Correct.
Okay, would you continue? Pause, please. Is that the individual you were describing?
Yes.
I gave you this.
Actually,
Okay, and this is, it's difficult to see.
Yeah.
I think because it's so quick. I'm going to show you what I've marked as exhibit number 6, and I'm going to give one copy to Chair Rasmussen that they can share to look at it. Would you be able to identify for me, is this a clip, a screenshot of the video?
Yes.
Okay, and if you look at the next page, this is identified as group exhibit number 6. It's a lighter version. Can you tell us where it is you believe you see a weapon?
So it's hard to tell in this picture, but you can really see it on a different camera angle that points to southeast off the, I believe it's the east side of the bar. You can clearly see it's a firearm in his right hand, but he pulls it from his right side, the suspect here wearing the black Nike sweatshirt.
And you believe he has a weapon in which hand?
His right one.
Okay.
You'll be able to
Is it
really see.
pointing out or up or down?
No, he holds it at his side.
Okay, all right.
I didn't see it.
Number 6. Okay, would you be able to resume playing, please, Ms. Kramer? So, Officer Carlin, can you tell us what's happening here?
So,
Well,
this,
I'm going to object. It's speculation at this point. I mean, I think we could see.
Well, for the record needs somebody to describe, I think, for the record.
If
Could you
you're gonna
pause
say
it,
about people
please?
stopping or standing, that's fine, but you can't say what's going on.
We can say what we're all observing for the record.
That you can do.
Okay, can you tell us what you are observing here for the record?
so we're observing several individuals now jogging or running away from, I guess, the unknown at this point, leaving Rock's place. The male who's in the red coat that you can no longer see on the screen is in with this other male who pulled the gun. And then there's a suspect that we can see, well, can't anymore, on the bottom of the screen though. Those were his friends that I first described that were leaving.
Okay, Ms. Kramer, would you please restart the video? Oh, restart.
Yeah, right.
Okay, please pause that. Is there anything for the record you would like to describe in this?
Yeah, so that car that you just saw pull out of Rock's place, leaving the parking lot, that car drove out with no lights on, proceeded to park an additional vehicle in outside on South Third Avenue, parked perpendicular on South Third Avenue to allegedly park this car in.
Well,
That's
Judge,
a-
I'm going to object at this point. What relevance does that have, what he did after he left the premises?
It'll be made clear. Okay.
Overruled, go
So,
ahead.
Can we, the next clip is from 9 minutes, 10 seconds to the end of that piece of video that was obtained from Rock. So if you could begin. you could pause. Can you describe for the record anything of significance in that video clip that we just watched?
So yeah, I know it was hard to see if nobody really knew, but the male wearing the black Nike sweatshirt with the blue jeans on, he did display a firearm, had it at his side. You'd see it glisten as he turned, and then you could see that car that also pulled out perpendicular on South Third Avenue there. Clearly a scuffle. People were going, leaving the premises and such.
I'm going to show you what I've had marked previously as group exhibit number, is it 7?
Yes.
For identification purposes. Would that be a accurate screenshot of what we were just watching?
Correct.
Okay, and then the next page, would that be the same shot?
Same shot.
Can
Clear.
you see anything of interest when it's lightened up?
Yes, you can.
What?
A firearm.
Okay. Could you continue with the next clip? It's 000 to 1 minute and 27 seconds. Could you pause here, Ms. Kramer? So Officer Carlin, can you describe for the record what we're seeing here and also explain what your investigation revealed about the other vehicle that is parked along in the parking lane?
Yeah, so again, there's that vehicle that's leaving Rock's place that's parked perpendicular on the roadway holding what we believe is these other 3 individuals from leaving. But this van here that's idling on Third Avenue outside of Rock's is a taxi driver from Northwoods Cab who I was able to get in contact with, who indicated something to the effect, again, I'd have to reference my report, about thinking there'd be a firefight. She saw an individual holding a piece. And I didn't specifically clarify what she meant by a piece. However, that's what she told me.
Did she indicate to you why she didn't leave?
She did. I don't exactly remember what that was. I'd have to reference my
In
report.
examining the video, do you believe it was possible for her to leave?
Yeah, it appears as if it'd be difficult to leave.
I would like you to review your report
Right.
with respect to the cab driver. Refresh your memory and then please set the report aside.
So from referencing my report, Chelsea, the taxi cab driver, said she thought they were going to start shooting. She stated she was stuck there, so,
What- Did she say why she felt she was stuck there?
because she thought they were going to start shooting.
She was stuck there. Okay, could you review your report again, please?
She indicated she was stuck there because of the gold-colored car parked perpendicular on Third Avenue.
Thank you. Ms. Kramer, would you continue playing the video? Please pause. I'm just going to show you, Officer Carlin, one more screenshot that is marked as Complainants Group Exhibit Number 8. Can you, and then look at the second page, can you describe for us, is that a screenshot of the part of the event we just watched?
Yes.
And then on the second page, it's a little bit lighter. Can you tell me what you believe you've seen in your investigation that maybe we can see better in this section?
A male digging in the waistband of his pants in his pelvic region.
And is there anything that you're able to see in addition to that?
Yeah, something, I guess, shiny, glistening off the light. I can't really tell from here.
Okay.
So.
Can't tell for sure, but we can also see the taxi cab, is that correct? in
Correct,
this?
yep, she was there
Okay.
for it.
Thank you. Okay. Almost done with Officer Carlin. Okay, Officer Carlin, in the contacts you had at the bar that evening, did you ever see Mr. Naraki there?
I did not.
So let me move on to another and the last incident that we're going to discuss tonight. Do you recall being dispatched to another call at Rock's Place on January 12th, 2019 at about 12:01 a.m.?
I do.
And what was your understanding of the nature of that call?
Of shot or shots fired at Rocks.
And was that an identified reporting party, or
It was anonymous.
did you respond there?
I did.
And were there any other officers who responded there?
Yeah, Officer Paff again. I think Lieutenant Lopes was on duty with us there. Officer Thuman was there. And I think that was it, maybe? Maybe there's one more I'm thinking of.
Did you have the opportunity to make contact with anyone when you responded to the location at Rocks?
Yeah, I did. 3 females who had been right in the area allegedly when this went off, who indicated they didn't hear anything. And then Stephanie, who I believe she was security that night, who indicated she was inside, did hear something, but I think she was quoted as saying everybody had amnesia and nobody saw anything, nobody knew anything. While I was outside the bar, that's where I made contact with her.
And did you say she indicated to you she heard a shot?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe so.
Okay. And while you were there with the other officers, did you observe whether any of the other officers present made any discoveries that corroborated the call to the police department?
Yes, so the anonymous reporting party had walked across the street to tell us that she reported it. Officer Paff had later interviewed her, got her statement, but she also pointed out, she had showed Officer Paff the bullet casing that was found approximately 15 yards on the southeast side of Rock's Place.
Okay. Did you gather that cartridge as evidence?
Correct.
And while you were there and so did you photograph that evidence?
Yeah, we took pictures of the casing where it was, And then Lieutenant Lopes also advised to take photos of where the bullet was relative rocks.
Okay. And when you were speaking with Stephanie, where were you located?
We were on the east side of the bar. I guess the door that faces South Third Avenue. It was very loud in the bar. Music was very loud. It was hard to even talk to her from, a few feet away.
Okay. And did she indicate to you what job she was performing that night?
Yeah, she was working security.
Oh. And did she indicate to you that she summoned the police?
No.
No. So she was not the reporting party that you talked to later across the street?
Correct.
Okay. And did you obtain video surveillance, ask for it at that time?
No.
Why not?
I think, so Caitlin had walked out of the bar. I don't know if Caitlin was bartending at that time. I want to say she was and was just outside the bar. It's unclear to me, but Caitlin was there, and I think she called Jackie or had somebody working on it to get the footage, but I was not able to obtain it that night.
And while you were there at the scene, did you see Mr. Naraki there at all?
No.
Okay. Would we be able to play the next clip of video? Okay, please pause it. All right, I meant to play that for Detective Martin. So we're just going to leave that there, and I have no further questions for
Okay.
you, and
Okay, Attorney Swankus, do you wish to cross-examine Officer Carlin?
Just a few.
Go ahead.
You indicated at the very beginning of this that you went to the rocks, first of all, in 21. Let me go back here. In February 21st of 21, is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so. I'd have to reference my report again to get the exact date, but yes.
And you went there initially to get records, the video from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. or thereabouts, is that correct?
I think I said initially I told Caitlin 10 to 11:30 p.m.
Could it be there, when you initially got the first video, you indicated then that you got 10 to 11:59, and then there was a break, and then 1:37 to 2 a.m., is that right?
It was 10 to 11:59, correct, yeah, 1:37 to 2, correct.
Okay. Could it be that because you made the initial request, she had initially copied that part of it, and then when...
speculation, I object.
Judge, you've been speculating all night.
I'm sure Jackie can testify.
I'm sure she can. Did you get the rest of the video from Jackie?
Yeah, the 10 to 2, yes.
And she provided that upon your request, when it was missing, is that correct?
Yes.
She was cooperative in regards to that effect? She came down when you called and made the rest of the video?
Yeah.
In regards to, there's a number of videos here that we watched tonight about an incident from that particular time. It appears that all the videos that we've seen were roughly outside videos, is that correct? From the incident on February 20th?
Yeah, but started inside.
But you spoke to the bouncer and he said he squashed it and had them leave, right?
Yeah, and then he said it escalated outside.
And none of the employees were outside during that video that we watched, is that correct?
I'd have to, I guess, rewatch it for myself. Nobody that I know of right now.
Okay. And you indicated that Jennifer was working that night, is that correct?
Jennifer, yes, she was the bartender.
And she indicated that she didn't even know there was an incident that occurred, is that correct?
Yeah, I'd have to reference my report, but that's what I recall.
after these individuals leave the bar, no one in the bar knew that that item occurred, is that correct?
I
Until you
don't,
began your investigation?
yeah, I don't know, I guess.
Now, I want to correct the date because I know this instance says 1/12 of 20.
Right.
But you testified earlier it's 1/12 of 19. It was 1/12 of 20, is that correct?
So the incident, I think, occurred on the early morning hours of Sunday.
Okay,
So the 21st, which I would come in for night shift and then get assigned that call, but the anonymous tip came in the 21st as well that morning.
never mind, okay.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to go back to the second incident about the shots fired.
Okay.
That's the one that was said of 1/12 of 19 earlier. And I want to clarify.
Is it 1/12 of 20?
20. yeah.
Okay.
At least that's what,
Yes. Yes.
okay, good. I just want to make sure we're talking about
Nope.
the same incident.
Yep.
All right. You indicated that you responded there that night because of a complaint, is that right?
Correct.
You indicated the music was really loud, is that correct?
Correct.
Was anyone from Rock's Place outside that night?
That night, yeah, Stephanie was outside, Caitlin was outside, as they talked to me.
Okay. In regards to this, were they outside when the videos that we watched in regards to the incident where the shots were fired?
I don't believe so. Stephanie told me she was inside. I think Caitlin was bartending, so.
So at the time this incident occurred, they're all inside?
Correct.
And I don't mean to jump, but I'm going to go back to the 2/21/21 incident. That's the incident where you see the individual with the handgun in his
Mhm.
pocket. And you said he came out of the bar and then went down the side by next to the bar and came out front?
Yes, he ran east along the south side of the bar to South Third Avenue. Yeah, and then there was, obviously you saw the commotion and such, but he ran, north up Third Ave on the sidewalk there and then back down. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to see in the video because everything's so fast and some people don't know what they're looking at, but yeah.
But at the time when he was running outside or the other car was out in the street, there was no employees from Rock's outside?
I don't know. It's hard to tell.
You didn't see any on the video?
Not that I could visually identify, I guess.
And if these individuals blocked the car, these individuals that blocked this car in the street, they were inside the bar from what you could tell?
Yeah.
But they weren't drinking from what Jennifer told me.
I don't know if those are the actual people. The people who blocked the others in, I don't know if those are the actual, I don't know who the 8 to 10 people were.
Well, some of these people came in to the bar, they didn't drink or anything else, and then they left, and then this incident occurred outside.
Yeah, and I don't know who those people are.
All right. I have nothing.
Attorney Alfonso, do you want any redirect?
Can I have 1 second?
Yes.
I just have one follow-up question.
Go ahead.
This is exhibit number 11. I'll show you what's been marked as exhibit number 11. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
And what is that?
Looks like a Blazer 45 bullet casing on the ground in the
And
snow.
When did you find it?
Found that the day I was called, the 12th or something like that
Okay.
of 2020.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Committee members, do you have any questions for Officer Carlin? Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, thank you. At one point, Officer Carlin, you were saying that you had to go back to the bar, and I think you were asking for video, and the 2 women who you spoke with seemed to be mad at you, and one of them you described as giving you the 1,000 yards there. Do you know why they were upset with you?
So what I perceive as a miscommunication of what I had advised Jennifer of, in that I discussed about the possible consequences of misleading my investigation, I guess lying to me, aiding and abetting somebody who may not be able to have a gun. So I think, again, why they were mad at me is because Jennifer had told them that I was going to take her kids away.
Okay, thank you.
Committee members, additional questions for Officer Carlin? If not, Attorney Miller, do you have any questions for Officer Carlin?
No.
Okay, with that then, Officer Carlin, you can step down and we'll call the next witness.
City would call Detective James Martin.
Okay, and the clerk will swear in the witness.
Please state your name for the record.
Jim Martin?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony which you shall give in the matter now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Would you state your full name for the record, please, and spell your first and last name?
My name is Detective Jim Martin. Jim is J-I-M. Martin is M-A-R-T-I-N.
And where are you employed?
I'm a police detective with the City of Wausau Police Department.
And what are your general duties as a detective?
The Detective Bureau takes over cases from the Patrol Bureau, or excuse me, the Patrol Division that require significant follow-up. So we generally will be assigned cases or tasks that will require too much follow-up for a patrol officer to handle. Because patrol officers need to answer calls on the radio, we're able to devote more time to individual cases. So anytime there's a major incident or an incident that's going to require a great deal of follow-up, it'll be assigned to a detective.
So on January 16th, 2021, were you asked to conduct follow-up regarding the event that occurred on January 12th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you conduct that follow-up?
Oh, you just said 21. We've got to make sure you got the
I'm
right
sorry.
person.
Did I?
1/12 of 2020.
1/12, I'm getting numbers.
Thank you, I just go like, I'm getting the wrong years again.
Okay, thank you. Okay, correction. The event that occurred on 1/12/2020.
Yes.
Okay. And what generally did your follow-up investigation include?
So the first portion of my follow-up investigation was to obtain surveillance video from Rock's Place Bar of the incident. We knew cameras were there. We knew about the time the incident happened. My initial goal was to get the video from Rock's Place before it could be lost. Sometimes recordings were overwritten, so I wanted to collect the video right away.
Okay, and did you collect the video?
I did.
How did you obtain it?
I think initially I spoke with the owner, Tim Naraki, and I was referred then to Jacqueline Stewart, who eventually copied the video to a USB flash drive and provided it to me.
Okay, and what angles were you able to obtain of the video?
So the video I obtained, there were, I believe, at least 4 distinct angles. There is video from what I would call the front door of Brock's Place. That video of the front door would be on the 3rd Avenue side of Brock's Place. On the south side of Brock's Place, there is a parking lot. There is video of that parking lot. And then I believe there are 2 interior angles to include my suspect entering the bar through the 3rd Avenue side and then later exiting through the door to the south.
Okay, and when you reviewed it all?
Oh, I've watched that video several times, yes.
And did you observe whether there was anything unusual about the timestamp on the video?
If I recall, the incident occurred around midnight on the 12th. And I believe the timestamp was off by approximately 1 hour. I believe the timestamp on the video showed approximately 1 a.m. And I believe in my phone conversations with Jackie, she did confirm that to me, that the video was off by that time.
Ms. Kramer, is it possible to do the little 10-second button back so we can replay the 8th clip? See the little 10 with the thing? Yeah, it goes back 10 seconds every time, and I believe this is not that long. No, that's too far. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
My fault completely.
Oh, right there?
Was that it? Yeah. See if it'll do it. Okay. All right. Would you play this portion for me? Thank you. If you could pause. With Attorney Swakis' permission, can I just proceed into the next one and let him explain? It's pretty short. All right, would you proceed? Thank you. Okay, Detective Martin, would you, for the record, mind explaining for us what we've been watching?
Yeah, so the first clip you saw is of a collection of males in the parking lot, which is on the south side of Rock's Place. As you can see in that clip, there is some type of argument that leads to what I would describe as pushing and shoving. One individual breaks away from that group, and you then see that individual in the second clip. The second clip, which I believe we have paused up there right now, that's actually the 3rd Avenue side, I believe, of Rock's Place. And that is the sidewalk directly in front of the bar that you can see there. So this individual walks to what I later discovered is the vehicle he drove to the bar. He goes to the driver's side and retrieves a firearm, and then begins walking back towards that parking lot where the different individuals that he was arguing with are still standing. You see in this clip that an individual comes from the parking area to the front of the bar and kind of doesn't really, I guess, push him, but confronts him a little bit and brings him back to the vehicle. That individual that brings him back to the vehicle is not one of the individuals he's arguing with. It's actually one of his friends, and it's a passenger that came to the bar in his vehicle with him. So as the passenger is escorting the suspect back to his car, you'll see the suspect raise his hand in the air, and he fires a single shot from a handgun that he was holding then before getting into his vehicle and then later leaving the bar.
You received these, right? Okay, just want to make sure. All right, I'm going to show you what I've had marked as group exhibit number 9. Would you look at those? Is that you think, a depiction of a screenshot from the video?
Yes.
And the next page, is it fair to say that's just a lighter version of that same shot?
That is how I would describe it, yes.
Okay, and what's significant in that screenshot?
In this screenshot, you see the individual that walked to the vehicle that is parked in front of Rock's Place on 3rd Ave. This would be after he goes to the driver's side of that vehicle and begins walking back towards the crowd in the parking lot. You can see it somewhat in the original image, in the original image, but in the lighter image, you can actually see the outline of the handgun in his hand as he's walking back towards that crowd in the parking lot.
And I'm going to show you what I've also had marked as group exhibit number 10. I guess since it's so difficult to see in the dark, would you explain for us, and I'll provide to Chair Rasmussen a copy of this as well. What is that?
So this is an image of who I would describe as the suspect, who is also the driver of that car parked on 3rd Ave. He's walking towards the car. The friend and the passenger of that vehicle that is kind of escorting him back to the car is also standing next to him. As the suspect is walking back to the car, he raises one hand into the air, and at that time, shortly after that, is when he fires the single shot.
Okay. And that's your belief that he fires the shot?
Well, I interviewed the passenger, and
Oh,
yes,
okay.
was able to confirm that,
Okay.
yes.
And these two screenshots I've showed you, they appear to be true and accurate pieces out of the videos.
Yes.
And the clips from the videos that we've watched, would you say those are true and accurate depictions of the videos that you obtained from Rox and that you watched?
Yes.
Okay. And just for the record, to clarify, this 8th clip and 9th clip, they're just the entire videos that Detective Martin obtained. And I have no further questions.
Okay. Attorney, so I guess would you like to cross-examine Detective Martin?
Yes.
Go ahead.
In regards to obtaining evidence from Rock's place, you had no problem getting the videos, is that correct?
No, I did not.
There was no weapons from what you can tell, the videos that were displayed in the bar, is that correct?
Not inside the bar, no.
And in regards to this, it doesn't appear that there was any maybe fight inside the bar, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then on the 8th clip with the south side camera of the parking lot, there was like a push of someone shoving someone away from the other person, is that correct?
That is how I would describe it, yeah.
And then that person gets pushed, goes out to a vehicle, and apparently grabs a firearm and comes back towards Rox, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
He only goes as far as the sidewalk roughly, is that correct? 'Cause he never really leaves the park, he never goes into the parking lot, is that right?
Yeah, the sidewalk directly in front of Rock's place on 3rd Ave.
And then he leaves and goes, and he's actually walking to the street back to his car when he raises his hand and fires a gun.
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Okay.
I have no reason.
Okay. Committee members, any questions of Detective Martin? If not, Attorney Miller, do you have any questions for Detective Martin?
No.
Okay, with that then, Detective Martin, you can step down. We'll call the next witness.
And I promise this is my last witness.
It's your last witness? Okay.
The complainant would call Chief Ben Livin.
Okay, and the clerk will swear in the witness.
Please state your name for the record.
Benjamin Wood.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony which you shall give in the matter now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Okay, would you state your full name for the record, please, and spell your first and last name?
My name is Benjamin Blivin, B-E-N-J-A-M-I-N. Last name is B-L-I-V-E-N.
And I think I gave away the surprise when I introduced you as Chief Ben Livin, but are you employed, and where are you employed, and what do you do there?
I'm employed by the city of Wausau, and I'm currently assigned as the chief of police for the police department.
Okay. And generally, just very generally, what's your role as Chief of Police? Police chief?
My role is to direct the operations of the police department, set policy. I attend meetings and present to committees and subcommittees of the city council.
Great. Now, I'm going to ask you, as police chief, have you ever spoken with Tim Naraki about different events occurring at the tavern?
I have.
Okay. Could you describe for us some of those conversations, what you've had, and how those have gone?
Yes, so I've had some phone call conversations with Mr. Naraki. I've had in-person conversations with him at the direction of this committee of the city council. And so when I have conversations with Mr. Naraki, it's usually a result of concerns raised as a result of incidents that have happened at the establishment. So, you know, when we talk about how to mitigate those issues at Rock's Place. So we talk about things like making sure that they are proactive in handling issues and fights that happen at their establishment. That means, you know, when there are issues, they shouldn't wait to call until the problem is outside, or, you know, try to mitigate the situation by intervening. They should call us first and get us to respond so that we can get there and make sure that things don't go from bad to worse. So that's a key component of our conversations. We talk about making sure that they have cameras. You know, that was a conversation we had a couple of years ago, and they now have cameras inside the establishment. We've talked about making sure that they have adequate security, and not just having the adequate number of security, but they have security with adequate training to handle de-escalation, to handle conflict, to handle fights, to know when to call police. We've talked about monitoring and making sure that they know what's happening in the parking lot of their establishment, because we know that there are a lot of issues in the parking lot, from fights to weapons being displayed and those kinds of things. So, you know, as the owner of the establishment, it's his responsibility to make sure that those things are mitigated. So that's a broad overview of what some of the things are we talk about.
And you indicated that he has been in front of this committee in the past?
Yes.
Do you recall how recently he might have been here?
He was at this committee in June of 2020.
Okay, and after that meeting, did you express any particular concerns with him?
Well, I think I expressed concerns with him prior to the meeting, and then this subcommittee of the city council asked to have him here so that they could express their concern over some of these incidents that we've discussed here tonight.
Okay. Now, have you ever talked with Mr. Naraki concerning problems that occur in the parking lot or out in front of the bar versus problems that occur within the walls of the tavern?
Yes, yeah, I've talked to Mr. Naraki about that. I've talked to a lot of other bar owners about that. You know, incidents, taverns that don't manage the fights well at their establishments end up with fights inside, fights outside, in the parking lot, you know, on the sidewalk in front of their establishments. And so, you know, we've talked about the importance of managing those issues well, training their staff, and making sure that they know what's happening both inside and outside their establishment.
And have you had any conversations with Mr. Naraki about any requests he might have for police walking through his bar?
I have. You know, I think most times when I've spoken with Mr. Naraki, he's offered to have police walk through his establishment. He wants us to do that. And we will do that when we have time. But, you know, we have a lot of establishments in the city, so we can't expect our officers to be walking through every establishment every day. And so, you know, we're willing to do that, but it is the owners and the managers and the bartender responsibility to make sure that they are managing that establishment well. It's not our responsibility as a police department to stop fights from happening and to get people to respond like police officers to stop things from happening. That's their responsibility.
Right. And we talked a while ago when Captain Baton was here about demerit points and assessing demerit points. What direction, if any, have you given to Lieutenant Felder about assessing demerit points at bars for incidents?
Yeah, so Lieutenant Felder is a night shift patrol lieutenant. He provides a monthly report to this subcommittee of incidents that have happened at establishments, and he is the person that determines whether or not demerit points are assigned. So I've had conversations with this subcommittee about how they would prefer us to assign demerit points, and I've also given direction to Lieutenant Felder on how to make those determinations. And I think it was mentioned earlier, part of our mission statement is partnering with our community, and that's a really important piece of what we do, both you know, at my level, and, you know, Officer Carlin and Officer Hagenbusher, their level, and meeting and knowing the people in their establishments. And so what's important to me, and I've given this direction to Lieutenant Felder, is that we don't want to discourage people from calling police when they need to. And so we we really strive to not assign demerit points when there are establishments that are really working hard and trying to work well with law enforcement. So almost always, if an establishment calls law enforcement to report an incident, we don't assign demerit points. And that's evidenced by, if you look at our monthly reports to the subcommittee, it is rare that we issue demerit points. And so we really err on the side of not issuing demerit points, and that's the direction I've given to Lieutenant Felder.
Okay. I have no further questions of the chief.
Attorney Svakis, would you like to cross-examine Chief Bliven?
Yes, and just briefly on the demerit points. In regards to this, did you know that there was a policy that if they contact the police department, then they won't be assessed police points?
Well, I talked about that a little bit. So we don't have a written policy on that. That policy is one that's been set by this subcommittee and by my direction to Lieutenant Felder, which is if people call us, if a bar establishment calls us about an incident, we generally do not issue demerit points. In this scenario, there likely were other circumstances, like they didn't call as soon as they should have, and the incident escalated, and that's when we got called. So it's not a hard and fast rule that we'll never do that, but we try to err on the side of not issuing demerit points if an establishment is legitimately working with us.
So to get establishments to call you if there's issues, you kind of let them know that if you call us, we aren't going to assess points, right?
That's typically a conversation we have, yes.
You don't tell them if you don't call us soon enough, we're going to assess you points, so do you?
Well, I have a conversation about, just the same conversation I just testified to, which is we want to partner with our community. It's really important to us that you work well with us and that we stop things from escalating. And so our expectation is that you call us immediately prior to an incident escalating. And so if they don't meet that expectation, then they might be issued demerit points.
I'm just saying you don't tell the owners that if you don't call fast enough, we're going to do it.
Do I
It's
use
kind of
that exact
policy.
language? No, but, I definitely go through this very detailed with our bar owners, and, I think they understand very well what my expectation is.
And in regards to this, with your conversation with Tim, you indicated that you wanted to see more cameras, he put them in, is that correct?
He did.
He put up signs, didn't he? Put up no weapons, no in his bar, is that true?
I'm not aware of signs that he put up.
In regards to this, do you know that he's hired security in the past?
I'm aware that he's had bouncers at some point.
And are you aware that he's established a policy of kicking people out who get in arguments based upon your conversations with him?
He's told me that before, yes.
So he's trying to assist in regards to partnering with the police in regards to this, is that correct?
I don't know that I would say that he's trying to make it look like he's trying to do the best he can, but I don't think he's met our expectations, and I think that's why we're here tonight.
So you'd like to see more from him in regards to partnership?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not for.
Attorney Alfonso, would you like redirect?
No, I have nothing further.
Okay, committee members, do you have any questions for Chief Bliven? I have one. Chief Bliven, do you recall when we had Mr. Naraki come before the committee in June of 2020 for a formal expression of concern? Was the content of that discussion between the committee and Mr. Naraki that you witnessed one where the committee was clearly seeking improvement?
Yes.
And do you believe that the committee clearly communicated the fact that things needed to improve? And I believe we had a discussion about failure to summon.
Yes, I think you gave very clear direction and made your expectations very clear, and I articulated the same, that, Rock's Place has not yet met expectations and has a lot of work to do yet. And that's what I said at the June 20th, 2020 meeting.
Thank you. Attorney Miller, do you have any questions for Chief Bliven?
No.
Okay. With that then, we'll allow Chief Bliven to step down.
May I ask that all of the exhibits that we've presented, I think we've already had 1 and 4 accepted, but 2, 3, 5, which are all the videos, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, admitted into evidence.
Correct.
as
We
part of
will,
the
we
record.
will record those as marked exhibit evidence, yes.
Thank you.
Committee members, how are you? Would you like a 5-minute break quick, and then we'll allow Attorney Svakis to bring his witnesses? Okay, let's take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll come back and continue.